Revenge films.
This is a story of when I was still a little boy. I was in kindergarten at that time, and I was living together with my mother. However, I was a little different from the other kids. The reason why I'm different is because my mother trained me every day without fail. For example, she trained me to go down from the second floor to the first floor just by using a single rope. She also trained me to escape from the window in the bathroom, and she trained me to run like I'm training for a marathon so that I wouldn't run out of breath immediately. I couldn't play much with my friends at school, and even when I asked my mother several times on why she made me do those kinds of training sessions, she never gave me an answer. That's why I vented my anger at her every time. Why do I have to do all this training, Mom? I want to play more with my friends! I don't like training like this! Every time I said those words to my mother, she looked at me with sad eyes and said,
I'm sorry you have to go through this, Dylan, but it's very important for you to train every day and become stronger. So please, trust me, Dylan. You could do it!
My mother tried to convince me at that time. My training continued even after I graduated from kindergarten. When I became a first grader, I had more physical strength compared to my classmates in our class. I was light on my feet, and I was even capable of climbing a fence easily. The number of training sessions I did became less and less, and I had more time playing with my friends. Then one day, while I was on my way home after playing with my friends, a man I'd never seen before called me.
Is your name Dylan?
Yes, but...
What's the name of your mother?
My mom's name is... I stopped halfway, but even though I was still young, I sensed that I shouldn't tell him my mother's name, so I ran as fast as I could home and escaped him. The man ran after me, but thanks to the training I had with my mother, I ran through a place that only a little kid could pass through, and I took the long way around. Thankfully, I was able to arrive home safely. Since that day, I saw that man mark me and follow me around, but thanks to the training sessions with my mother, I was able to easily get away from that scary-looking man. I was a boy, and thought that it would be a sign of weakness as a man if I told my mom about it because I was scared. That's why I was a bit hesitant at first. Also, I felt a sense of superiority because I was able to run away from him. However, half a month later, I came home from school like always that day. I'm home!
Welcome home, Dylan. Don't forget to wash your hands, okay?
My mother and I were going about our day normally, but then the doorbell suddenly rang. My mother told me that I should check first before opening the door, but I thought that it was the mailman, so I opened the door without checking who it was. Then, to my utter shock, the man who kept following me around was standing on our doorstep! I was so shocked that I gulped air. Then, my mother walked to the front door from the kitchen and asked me,
Dylan, I'm guessing it's not the mailman. Do we have a visitor?
When she arrived at the front door, she gulped air like I did, and her face turned very pale like I've never seen before. Then the next moment, the man spoke.
I finally found you!
He shouted those words like he knew my mother. He then invited himself in and entered the house. When he reached my mother, he grabbed her hair and punched her with full force.
Stop it!
My mother tried to protect herself from the blows by crouching. She then looked at me and shouted,
Dylan, get out of here and call someone for help!
Hearing those words, that man turned his attention to me and said,
How dare you keep on running away from me! You better brace yourself!
And tried to grab me, but I dodged him and I was able to get away. But then the man locked the front door so that I couldn't escape the house. He then walked in my direction and tried to grab me again. However, my mother held on to him and screamed,
Hurry up and get away from here, Dylan! Go through the window! Get out here fast!
The man lost his temper, so he grabbed the remote control by the sofa and then hurled the thing at my mother. I thought that she was going to be killed if I didn't do anything. I contemplated on whether I should go or stay, but I knew that even if I was able to escape, I couldn't rescue her from that man. Then my mother faced me and screamed,
Don't worry about me, Dylan. Just go and save yourself.
I trusted my mother, so I decided to do what she told me. I climbed down through the window and ran away in desperation. After a few minutes of running, I saw a police station before me. So I went inside the building. Please! Help my mother! Hearing me utter those words, the policeman responded,
What happened, little boy?
A strange man kept on following me around for the last few weeks. Then today, he came into our house and he punched my mother. Just please, hurry and help my mom!
Understood. Let's go! Where is your house?
Over here! I rushed back to our house together with the 2 police officers. Then that man was trying to escape, so I said, It's him! Then one of the policemen ran after him. After that, I rushed to our house to check on my mother. I saw my mother exhausted, lying on the floor. Mom! Mom! The other policeman called an ambulance immediately, and my mother was brought to the hospital by the ambulance that arrived soon after. That man who kept on following me around, and who eventually marked our house and physically abused my mother, was captured by one of the policemen. The officers then took him straight to the police station. My mother was brutally beaten, but thankfully, she recovered from the injuries immediately, and her life wasn't in danger, so she only had to stay at the hospital for a few days. After that, I heard my mother and the policeman talking about what happened. That's how I learned that the man was my father. When I was still very young, my father kept on building up debt, and to pay for those debts, my mother was forced to work at a hostess club at night. But I was still a baby at that time, and that man said he took care of me. But he didn't do anything besides leave me alone in the crib. I learned later on that there was even a time when I nearly died because I had a very high fever, but he didn't notice because all he did was drink and neglect me. However, my father beat my mother every time she didn't work at the hostess club, so she thought that she had to do something about the situation to protect me and herself. My mother knew that my father was an alcoholic, so she made him drunk and somehow made him sign the divorce registration paper. After they got divorced, my mother took me with her, and we lived in different places for a while. But she eventually found a job as a regular employee at the current company she's in, and her job came with company housing as a benefit, so we ended up living in this small town discreetly. However, my mother and I walked away from my father without telling him about it, so my mother was worried that he might find us someday. My mother told me later on that was the reason why she trained me every day, since even at such a young age. There was quite a distance from my house to the police station, but thanks to those rigorous training sessions, I was able to climb down the window with ease and run away speedily from the house. I was able to easily climb over the wall, and I was able to run the shortest distance. I had way more physical endurance compared to the other kids in my class, too. I remember how thankful and relieved I felt when that rigorous training session I had with my mother finally paid off the moment I needed it. After that, the man was arrested and put to jail because of the physical abuse that he did to my mother. He not only abused her that day, but also those that he did several years ago were taken into consideration too, when the decision was made to imprison him. The man searched for my mother and me ever since the day we left him, and while he was busy searching for us, his debt accumulated and grew to a large extent. I heard that to pay off his debt, he planned on using my mother by making her work at a hostess club again. A few days later, my mother was discharged from the hospital. But just in case that man happens to break free from prison and come looking for us again, the company prepared a new place for us to live. It was company housing, like my mother's workplace. After the man was arrested, my mother told me,
Dylan, I'm truly sorry that I made you train rigorously every day. You didn't want to train, right?
She was in tears and apologized to me, but I told her, at first, I didn't like training every day, but I'm grateful that I did those training sessions.
Huh?
Because thanks to the training sessions I had with you, Mom, my body feels way lighter and faster. My classmates are always impressed by my speed whenever we play the game of tag. Also, I can easily climb walls, and I'm very fast at running, so I always take first place during track and field.
Really? Is that so? So you're not bearing a grudge against me?
No, not at all. Of course I don't bear a grudge against you, Mom. Because thanks to those training sessions, I was able to arrive at the police station fast and ask help from the policeman. Not to mention the fact that those training sessions we had is the reason why that man was caught.
You're right, Dylan. You saved my life, Dylan. Thank you.
After saying those words, my mother brought me closer and hugged me. 18 years after that, now I have a fiancé, and we're getting married soon. My fiancé lost her parents because of an illness, so she takes very good care of my mother. My fiancé and my mother go out for lunch together sometimes, and they even went to the spa together the other week while I was on a business trip. I can tell that they get along well together, but I'm very happy to see that my mother and my fiancé are very close. I bet my mother felt very scared during those days when she trained me, because she was running away from the man who beat her, and she had me to take care of. That's why I was very happy when the threat vanished. By the way, I plan on living together with my mother after my fiancé and I get married. It was my fiancé's idea. Ever since that man was arrested, my mother felt relieved and happy. I understand because she was constantly wary and remained alert the whole time before that man finally got arrested. After that incident, my mother showed a smile on her face. She smiles even more now since she and my fiancé and I bond together now. This is all the family I need.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.